it may happen that the war will end.
What are the weapons they were using?
While India is 3.2 million square kilometers, desalination plant, they are actually sitting on a very, very delicately balanced as to what kind of weapons they are using. Send your interceptors using a number of 40 or 50 odd very high top ranking officials were getting
Clubbed everyone in one place and under one roof.
or they had hacked all the cameras which were there in Tehran.
The objective, what we they had is to have the new regime.
F-35, which are known as stealth bombers. They had a bunker buster bomb. They've got mobile launchers.
You will not be able to track them. When you have such kind of
There is none other than India. How do you intercept a drone or a missile?
Hello, sir. Welcome to the show. Um, I'm so honored to have you on our show, and I heartily welcome you. Today, we're going to talk about the current affairs, which is happening in Gulf. I am so excited and happy that your knowledge and your analysis about the current situation will give a light on many aspects. Audience, they'll be able to understand better and clear picture about the current situation.
Thank you, Shiva. I'm Colonel L S Bisht. I've served in the Indian Army for 31 odd years, or rather 32 years. And it's my privilege to be joining you on this show. And I'll make an opening statement about the US, Israel, and Iran war. So, where do we stand today of the continuing war in the Middle East? And it has created a lot of discomfort and destruction and death, particularly in the Middle East and also all across the world, because the economy is getting affected. So today's, as we had discussed prior to this live recording, that we were going to discuss how this particular war is going to end, because it's not important who wins and who loses. It's almost a stalemate after 25 days. So prior to starting this podcast and answering your questions, I'd like to say that the objectives of the United States and Israel were totally different when they started this war. Uh, Iran has been preparing for this day for almost now for decades together. If I may say that they had started for preparing this kind of a war in 1984. So you can imagine that how many years it has been since the time these people have been preparing. Of course, in between, there were a lot of other wars in the region, the Desert Storm 1, Desert Storm 2, and then the War on Terror and all those things. But suddenly, like uh, Iran came very close to making a nuclear bomb. And it is the stated principle of the supreme leader of Iran, that was Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. He said that once they get the nuclear bomb, they will be able to eliminate or destroy the entire nation of Israel. So this became a very big concern for Israel because they really meant it. So
Yeah.
Israel was facing an existential threat, especially after 7th October attack on Israel a few years back. Uh, while the US had different objectives, the US has got multiple objectives. The first one was the regime change of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The second one was they wanted to eliminate the nuclear weapon. They've got around 440 odd kgs of 60% enriched uranium which is existing within Iran. And the third objective was to install a sort of a democratic regime, or maybe the son Reza Pahlavi or some other person who is compliant with the norms of the US and the West, and make Iran enter the mainstream of the world, and they sell their crude oil in as per the norms of the GCC country, or Gulf Cooperation country, as may we may call it. So these were the objectives. But after 25 days of war, we see that almost there is a stalemate. While the supreme leader has been eliminated on the first day, that is on 28th of February. But after that, Iran went into a form of a mosaic warfare in which they decentralized their uh, uh, leadership, and almost 31 odd IRGC commanders were there who are controlling the 31 provinces. So now US and Israel are not fighting a single country, Iran, but they are fighting 31 provincial IRGC commanders. IRGC means Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. So these commanders are independent sort of people who are taking independent decisions, and they are striking everywhere, left, right, and center. So now you can understand. Over to you, Shiva.
Thank you so much, sir, for the brief introduction about what's happening in the Gulf, war. So um, I have a couple of questions in terms of to get into deep down and understand about current situations. In terms of like um, what has happened so far, this 20 plus days, and what are the weapons they were using, and also about if someone wants to come in between for the negotiation and how it works. So what are the different countries can join together and do the negotiation, or is there any one single country can get into the negotiation?
Yeah, firstly, you asked me two questions, like what were the kind of weapons which are being used in this war, and what kind of negotiations that can take place. So, and which are the countries which can really host these kind of negotiations. So, you see, there has been a little bit of softening of stance by President Trump. Last evening, he said that they will not be targeting the power structure of the Iranian powerhouses or power generation plants. That is a very reconciliatory statement coming from President Trump. Why I say this? Because earlier both sides were having a lot of belligerent kind of noises. So while Iran has denied that they have given any kind of reconciliatory statement, or they have agreed with President Trump's this thing, but it is a first sign. On the 24th day of the war, President Trump said that, okay, we are ready to negotiate, or rather, he said that Iranians have approached them, and they have asked for a ceasefire. So this was the first indication. And yes, there are certain kind of negotiations happening. The Iranians have spoken to Turkey, or Turkey, as we called them earlier. They have also spoken to Egypt and also Pakistan. And these are the countries wherein you have got the ambassadors from the United States of America, and they convey these kind of things.
Yeah.
Because in Iran, they have eliminated almost three generations or three echelons of leadership, including the supreme leader, and then the other one, Mojtaba, who's probably getting uh, treatment in Russia, and 40 odd of their senior leadership has been wiped out. So, whom do you talk to? There's
Yeah.
President Pezeshkian right now. So, there may be a country like Oman, wherein they may sit down and have some kind of negotiation. And Oman, mind you, initially when the talks were going on, so Iran had almost agreed that they will be eliminating the nuclear program and the missile program, but at the same time, the US and Israel struck them. So that factor of trust is also gone.
Yeah.
Now, it may happen that they will de-escalate because there is a lot of pressure on the United States of America from the GCC countries, that is Gulf Cooperation countries, essentially who are aligned with the United States, and that is Saudi Arabia is the biggest one, and then UAE is another one, United Arab Emirates, and then you have got Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait. These are the smaller ones. Jordan is there, Syria is there, Iraq is there. So these are the countries which are facing a lot of problems because their oil has stopped going out and they've got no other revenue other than oil. And
Yeah, that's
also
right.
the food which used to get imported into these countries, like India used to export a lot of rice to them and also other fresh vegetables, lentils, and even meat. So these people stock is running out. So how do they survive? And this statement, like what President Trump said yesterday that they will not target the powerhouses, has got a lot of meaning because these populations are surviving on water that is coming out from the desalination plants. So those
Correct.
desalination plants are the real source of water. Now, if you either hit the desalination plant or you hit the uh, power plants, then your desalination goes for a six, and there will be no water for drinking. So this will create a lot of refugee problems. And
Yeah.
incidentally, Iran itself is around 900 million or 9 crore, as we call it in India. So
It's like one of the
900
state
million.
of India. In one of the state population will be
Yes,
and
yes,
population of
like a
the Iran.
major state like Tamil Nadu or Bihar is comparable to that, but its size is very big. It is almost
Yeah.
half the size of India, 1.6 million square kilometers, while India is 3.2 million square kilometers. So you can imagine that it's a huge place with a huge population. And if you hit the source of water and source of electricity, there will be a refugee problem which neither the United States nor Israel nor Turkey nor Europe will be able to solve. And if
Yeah.
you hit the uh, desalination plants or power plants of the GCC countries, say there is no water in UAE or Dubai, which is within UAE, Abu Dhabi within UAE, or Muscat in Oman, or say Doha in Qatar. So all these people will start running. Where will they run to? They will go into Europe via Turkey.
Yeah.
So there will be a huge refugee problems and there will be people running helter and skelter. So they are actually sitting on a very, very delicately balanced situation right now. Now, what kind of weapons you asked? So I'll give you a primary uh, account as to what kind of weapons they are using. Uh, Initially, in any war, suppose you must imagine, like if I have got some amount of air defense, so how do the air defense take place? Air defense takes place when you have radars which detect any hostile airplane or missile or say drone which is coming to attack you. Then you engage that, you lock it, and then you send your interceptors. So whenever, like if I am US or Israel, on 28th of February, when I came to know because of my various intelligence inputs. Now, even nowadays, what has happened is your intelligence is also networked. You are a
Yeah.
fairly good guy at networking and IT, information technology. So you can understand that Israel was using a number of sensors, intelligence inputs, human intelligence, by which they were tracking, okay, who all are going there to meet Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. So it happened that at 8:30, they detected that 40 or 50 odd very high top ranking officials were getting at the place where the supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei used to stay.
Yeah.
So
It's all in
these
one together. They have clubbed everyone in one place and under one roof.
Yeah, so they had a very salivating target. and the US had given its consent in principle to eliminate the supreme leader of Iran. But he was not sure, the US was not sure as to when this should happen. So it is now learned, or rather declassified by the Israeli sources, that they had hijacked or they had hacked all the cameras which were there in Tehran, and they could make out that certain amount of all the street cameras, home cameras, shop cameras, they hacked, and they made sure that they were tracking everybody who were reaching there. So they gave this input. The attack was to take place on 2nd or 3rd of March. So they preponed it and they attacked it. So there was a very thought process that the moment Ayatollah Ali Khamenei would be eliminated, they would be taking control of the nation of Iran,
and
and the
set up a
people
new
will start
regime.
protesting. Yeah,
The
yeah,
objective what we they had is to have the new regime.
yeah.
Yeah. So, sir, with all these aspects, like whatever so far they have done, what do you think from how many months? Because any operations or any this kind of situation, it doesn't happen overnight. So for this, there will be a proper preparation of a lot of things, like in terms of diplomatic, in terms of strategies, in terms of accumulation of the vast number of weapons. How many months or how many years of preparation would have done.
No, it wasn't that long because they poorly calculated it. I was giving you the kind of weapons which they use. So initially, what they did is like they had their Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier, which was nearer to the Strait of Hormuz, or rather in the Gulf of Oman. So from there, they fired Tomahawk missiles. So these are subsonic missiles, and they carry a very huge charge, or warhead of more than 1,000 kgs. And they struck all the radars and all the air defense systems and all the interceptor systems, that is S-300 and one uh, Iranian local made air defense system. So they neutralized everything. They bombed it to smithereens. So once they got the first principle, which is there, is to get air superiority or air dominance over your enemy. So that was achieved. And after that, a number of F-35, which are known as stealth bombers, so stealth fighter aircrafts. So these came in and they probably struck that precision strike of uh, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's palace. So they had a bunker buster bomb, which not only penetrated the concrete surfaces, it reached the underground place where all these people had congregated. And
Okay.
once this was achieved, they thought that it will be over, but it did not get over. So why it did not get over was the Iranians had prepared for this day, and they had given their orders, like even after death of the supreme leader,
The war
the
should be
orders
keep
were,
going on.
yes. So they have made huge tunnels underneath the entire nation, the cities, and interconnecting the cities. You can run a truck underneath, and there are missile silos. There are missiles which are placed underneath. There are thousands and thousands of drones. So they are prepared for it very well. So,
Okay.
what do you do? They've got mobile launchers which just pops out from say a hidden place, fires it missiles, and then again goes back. So
Then
you
you'll
can't
not be
even
able to
bomb them.
track them. You'll not be able to track them. When you have such kind of modern weapons where you know you'll not be able to track with the heat control system from the satellite.
Yeah,
So
IR, we call it infrared detection
yeah.
system. So the satellites detect these kind of things. Then there are AVAC systems which detect these kind of things. So I'm just giving you an idea that primary weapon system of the Iranians is Shahid drones, which are nothing but suicide drones. It is a hearsay that they say that within $2,000, they are manufacturing a single Shahid drones, and they have manufactured it in thousands, say 80,000, 100,000, more than that. And then second is they've got a number of missiles. So they've got missiles which essentially have 2000 range, 2000 kilometers range. So they reach your Israel very easily, and they can target everybody within 2000 kilometers, and that includes all the GCC countries.
GCC
So
countries. That's right.
they have also struck the Qatar radar, which was 1 billion plus in cost. So it was supposed to detect anything, any airborne element, whether missile, fighter jet, drone, 5,000 kilometers. So you can
Oh my
imagine
God.
that they virtually made the United States and Israel blind. So the
Yeah,
reaction time has reduced.
that
And
is.
then
Yeah,
they've got
that's right.
hypersonic missiles. Yeah, hypersonic missiles. Hypersonic missiles, no system in the world, leave alone United States, no system in the world can detect a hypersonic missile. And hypersonic missile also that goes in a snaking way. So you got some thrusters in that, and it goes in a snaking manner and hits the target. So how do you intercept such a thing?
Yeah.
So
So
those
that's a very
hypersonic missiles are
modernized.
there.
That's very modernized. Weapon which
Yeah,
confuses the radar and go and hit the target. Yeah.
yeah.
Sir, the next question which I wanted to ask is why this particular region is so strategically important for the world.
Okay, it is important because you got 20% of the oil and gas. So you must have seen that Strait of Hormuz once it is blocked. So almost 20% of the oil which is used in the world used to pass through Strait of Hormuz. Now this region becomes very important because oil, even as of date, is the most important commodity for an economy of a
Yeah.
nation. So everything depends on oil, including your generation of electricity, including your running of your factories, your logistics, your transportation system. Even oil has got certain amount of, once you see the fractional distillation plant of the crude oil system in a refinery. So topmost is LPG, that is
LPG,
liquefied petroleum
petroleum
gas.
gas. Yeah.
Then you've got petrol. Then you've got naphtha. Then you've got diesel. Then you've got fuel oil running for various industries and big those commercial ships and all those things. And then you've got bitumen. So you derive fertilizer out of it. You derive LPG, which is used for cooking gas, which is used for various industries.
Yeah.
There is LNG, liquefied natural gas, and liquefied petroleum gas. So now once if oil stops, your entire factories get affected. For example, if the oil doubles, so India suffers an additional burden on the exchequer by amount of 62,000 crores. So you can imagine that from $62 per barrel, it has gone up to $120 per barrel. So
Yeah.
just imagine that that much amount of dollars which we'll have to buy, which we'll have to earn. Now your exports are down. So that is another thing which is beating you.
Yeah.
Then your since your exports are down, so your rupee will get devaluated. From 90 rupees, we are going on to 93 rupees. So those 3 rupees, each rupee increase in vis-a-vis rupee versus dollar amounts to 72,000 crores of rupee, which India has to account for. So now
Yeah.
you can imagine that how then inflation will go higher, then your economy in the development GDP growth rate will go higher. And India is a very, very prosperous country, so it doesn't matter to us much. But just imagine that other countries in the global south, in Africa, Latin America, or even for that matter, like Pakistan and Bangladesh and Southeast Asia, these even including Japan and China, they are in big trouble.
Yep.
So this much, just this 20% of blockade of oil has created so much of chaos around the world. So that's why it's strategically very, very important. And on top of that, the United States wants to control the oil because they want the oil to be above $100 per barrel, because the shale oil which they want to export is not very competitive in the global market, because the shale oil extraction itself is $70 per barrel. And
Yep.
while the oil was selling at $62 per barrel, so they were at a loss. So now US becomes competitive. So you can understand. Over
Yep.
to you.
So with this, 20% of oil, that affects on everyone's daily life. Suddenly, someone can ask, oh, just 20%, what will affect on the common man? But it will affect on their the daily life, like the LPG, what they use, and again, all other associated items also will get higher price. So thank you about that, sir. And I also wanted to understand, um, what are the main political um reasons? I mean, we saw about the oil price, about the oil, other things which is associated with oil. But wanted to know how politically this is played, uh, in terms of getting an advantage for one country, or getting an advantage for all the G7 countries, or like how does it work, politically?
Asked a very important question, because it is almost this question almost amounts to the world order or world economic order. Now you see, like Great Britain prior to World War II used to be a global power, and suddenly there was a Bretton Woods agreement in the 1950s, probably 1953, and dollar became the central agency
Yeah.
and world reserve currency. So it transferred from the UK to USA, the number one country in the world. USA took the pole position. So the US dollars became the world currency. And till 1974, there used to be a very, very renowned president, President Nixon. So 1974, he delinked gold with the US dollars, and he
Hmm.
brought in the petrodollars. So you must have
Petrodollars.
heard
Yeah.
this term,
Yeah. That is a
petrodollars.
term which is going around, as and then the war started, the word, petrodollars started, going around. Yeah.
Yeah, what is petrodollars actually? So it is something like which USA has got a military might. They remain the number one country in the world as far as the military goes. So they have got the capacity to ensure that the dollars remain the world reserve currency. So how do the petrodollars work? It is primarily because USA was getting anxious. You can understand this thing because USA can print $100 bill at 17 cents. So they can go on printing endlessly,
N
and
number of
and they
times. Yeah.
send it across the globe. So these dollars end up in other countries. We have to literally work for 12 hours a day and earn these dollars, while USA has just to print it endlessly. So they have got this capacity, and for that they used to get the best in the world in their country. So this is something like, how did they achieve it? Why petrodollars? So what they did was, President Nixon saw that countries like France and all, they were asking for gold instead of dollars. So their gold reserves were getting depleted. So President Nixon and one another character in that contemporary times, he was Henry Kissinger. So they they made an agreement with the Arab monarchs. These are not monarchs; they were actually tribes.
Tribes,
So
yeah.
what you that's Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince, and all these. They are not royals as such. They were tribals. They were Bedouins. They used to live off the land, camel, and uh, and they used to. They were very poor people before striking oil. So they were also illiterate. So
Yeah.
King Faisal, I think Henry Kissinger went there and said that, okay, you will only sell in oil in dollars, US dollars, and for that we will give you protection. So he said, oh, that's very good. If we get protection, why not? So they
Yeah.
started, and they said that our company, Exxon Mobil, Chevron, these will come and extract oil and also they will sell it. So they were getting so much of dollars that these sheikhs and these people, they were not able to spend it. So what happened is like this, they said that why don't you put it back in the US Treasury and we will give you interest on that. So that is how US Treasury bonds were being sold to them. Of late, what had happened is like these huge kingdoms, because all US allies are not democracies, they are monarchs, they are kingdoms. For example, Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Zayed in UAE, then you've
UAE,
got
yeah.
a sheikh in Qatar, then you got a sheikh in Bahrain, then you got a sheikh in Kuwait. So all these people are monarchs. There's King Abdullah in Jordan. So they are not democracies. So
It's monarchy.
they said
Yeah.
that, yeah, they are monarchies. So they started. Then what happened that these guys gradually started going to Harvard, going to Stanford for the education, and then they got wiser.
Yeah.
So Mohammed bin Salman is a very well-read man.
Yeah,
So
that's true. And his social interactions and his standpoint in couple of discussion, it's really really good actually. Yeah.
yeah, so they were well educated. So now oil is a very finite thing, and there is a finite time period till which the oil will last. So
Yeah.
what had happened is like all these guys are very good. They understood the game plan, and they said that now let us invest into certain kind of things,
Hmm.
wherein we generate some kind of a system where we generate some kind of a money other than oil. So you saw that a shining city like Dubai comes up.
Dubai.
Yeah, you see a shining city like Abu Dhabi comes up. You see a shining city like Riyadh come up, and then you see that there's a very huge concept of a neon city which MBS Mohammed bin Salman is building in Saudi Arabia. So,
Yeah.
like Dubai, you saw that a number of facilities are being given by Dubai to all rich people in the world. Whether you evade tax in your own country, you just come to Dubai and invest it there.
Yeah.
Then Dubai was also giving a transshipment facility, so huge docking facility for ships. Then you re-invoice your things and you can sell it across anywhere. So
Okay.
transshipment hub. Then Dubai was a place wherein you were providing like Emirates used to fly your Air Asia, and then I think Qatar Airways.
Qatar
So
Airways. Yeah.
all the huge jumbo jets or these jets used to go to Dubai and refuel, and also some maintenance used to be done. So it was a aviation hub. Then it was a
Yeah.
fintech city. You go there, you trade in dirhams, in yuan, in any currency, in US dollars. So fintech city it was there. So
So they made the entire world to look at them, and whatever um, the trade is to happen or the travel from one side of the world to other side of the world, they made the hub, and so that the economy also grows, and the that's how they made Dubai as a number one country in terms of facilities and the biggest airports they have. Sir, I have a question which will,
So your question is not totally, I have not been able to answer it fully. So actually speaking, the West was growing slightly, you see, there are wheels within the wheels. So
yeah,
people stopped going to Switzerland to invest. Now, there may be very high-ranking people in the US who wants Dubai to be subdued and Switzerland to come up. So it may happen like that also.
yeah, yeah, that's what,
So,
it's all about
so,
the
and
churn,
then
the,
Iran said, that if you don't allow me to sell my oil, so I will not allow you to sell your oil. So
yeah,
I'll block the Strait of Hormuz. I'll block all this thing. And I'll also, now what Dubai was trying to do was to, they were trying to make it the AI center because power is very cheap,
yeah,
oil-based power generation. So you can imagine that the city of London, the amount of electricity which it consumes, or city of New York, that much of power is required for cooling of GPUs of NVIDIA in,
yeah,
say,
yeah, yeah.
AI data
The
center
the data centers, yeah,
for machine learning. So what they did is they started hitting their data centers. So
yeah.
they
That
said
that
that now,
is big thing
yeah,
actually.
they started hitting the hotels. They started hitting the oil infrastructure. So President Trump got very annoyed that he wanted the infrastructure to be good so that he is able to use it and take
Yeah,
oil and gas out of it.
but it
While
went
Israel,
other way around.
yeah, Israel doesn't listen to him and he attacks everything. So they attack these things. So once hotels get destroyed, so Dubai loses its capacity to be a safe place. So people will avoid going there. Now,
Yeah.
sorry, you were saying something.
So the next question what I have, which is directly related to the one of the slide, which you wanted to bring upon, the ground situation in Iran, like how well they are equipped in terms of their the ground situation, the army, the weapons. So if you can bring upon that particular slide, we can speak about that slide.
Okay, prior to bringing that slide on, like it is something, American objective was for a regime change and
Yeah,
also to get their 440 kgs of refined uranium to make
uranium.
atom bomb, yeah, nuclear bomb. So neither there is a regime change nor they have found out the what do you call uranium. So far so many bombs have gone off and no result. So what do unless you put boots on ground?
Yeah,
Unless you put boots on
boots on the
ground,
ground. Yeah,
send
that's
in
right.
real soldiers into war, you can't win. So I had made a very, it's actually unethical to show any slides, but I'll just tell you that how only, I'll show you one slide only, because actually speaking, uh, I had studied the way USA had attacked Iraq. Once they had attacked Iraq in 1993, 1991. They had attacked Iraq. When Iraq had gone into Kuwait and occupied it, so it was a physical attack. It was a physical attack in 1991. Uh, it was known as Desert Shield. Desert Shield means 6 months the US took to amass all the armored tanks, aircrafts, navy, uh, into Middle East. And then the assault went in, and then they were able to liberate Kuwait. You are understanding my point?
Yeah,
So that was the kind of preparation which they had done. And then in 2003, they attacked Iraq, and then they were able to do it. So now, if you look at the nation of Iran, Now I will show you. It is totally mountainous and it is half the size of India. So there is no guaranteed tank runs.
Yeah,
There is
because for
no
the tank,
guaranteed
you
way.
need to have the ground should be uh,
Flat.
flat, and little bit here and there. If it is not flat, tanks will pass. But to have a smooth operation, you need to have the flat surface. Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Over to you.
So which is not there. Iran is a mountainous country. Conditions under which they will carry out a ground attack because you see they need a high moral ground. In
Yeah.
1991, they had a high moral ground because Iraq had attacked and captured Kuwait. Then they had a high moral ground because 9/11 had happened, terrorist attack in New York. So they attacked Iraq again. So right now, they don't have the NATO countries with them. They don't have the uh, GCC country with them, especially for a military attack. They are not giving them airspace and other things. So if President Trump is talking in a reconciliatory tone, it may happen that the war will end
And very soon.
with this, yeah, with this regime in place.
Sir, I also wanted to understand, um, because in these wars, they have lots of weapons which is like very very modern, technologically super high, equipped. In this war, the majorly they have used to make a big damages through drones. How has modern technology or drones have changed the nature of the nature of this war? If you can help me explain about that.
Yeah. You have asked a very important question. The US used to be a superpower because it had the ability to strike anywhere, anytime, because they had bases. They had air bases, they had military bases, they had naval bases. So, and they had aircraft carrier battle groups. An aircraft carrier battle group like USS Abraham Lincoln, it is a huge platform with 245 odd planes. That is F-18 Hornet, and they have got the EA-15, FEA-15 Growler aircrafts, which are required for jamming the enemy radars and other things. So these aircraft carrier groups were uh, we're also having submarines and destroyers, 4 to 5 to 6 destroyers along with them, and they had the capacity to strike any city, any place in the world. But what has happened with Shahid drones? Now, how do you intercept a drone or a missile? So they've got a AEGIS system by which they used to intercept. Firstly, detect, track, and intercept. So suppose a $2,000 drone is coming onto you and you make a F-35 go and intercept it and it fires some air-to-air missiles. So you are spending millions to just intercept a small drone.
Small drones, which
And
is like $2,000.
yeah, 2,000 to $20,000,
Dollars,
whatever.
yeah.
So, and if it comes and strikes the deck of a aircraft carrier, then no, your 245 aircraft stationed in the aircraft carrier can't fly. So you are a sitting duck out there.
Yeah.
So, and if God forbid a hypersonic missile comes and hits the deck, yeah, so satellite guided missiles are there. Well, GPS is that of the United States, and Starlink is also there. So
Yeah.
you can imagine that these people can attack. So what happens is that if a swarm of drone comes, then
Hmm.
saturation happens. And when saturation happens, your interceptors can't fly, and you will be spending millions and millions of dollars to counter just a few $1,000 drones. So that is how the interception and air defense systems of these very, very expensive billions of dollar war equipment is becoming obsolete.
Yeah.
So that is how the drones have really changed the warfare.
Okay.
Shiva.
Sir, with all this current situation, of course, there'll be a lot of talks will be happening, behind the scene in terms of negotiating and, bringing this war to end. There'll be also having a discussion for ceasefire. So, wanted to understand what diplomatic steps are being taken to stop this conflict.
There has to be some responsible nation like India, which also happens to be the chairman of the BRICS. And we are very close to the United States of America, Israel, and Iran. So, all parties which are warring right now, so somebody has to bring them to the table. Right now, the tempers are very high because the
Yeah,
spiritual leader has been killed, and he was regarded as a spiritual leader, not a political leader. So the IRGC, whose basic duty is to protect the spiritual leader, so they have taken it very seriously. And also, there is a paramilitary force which is known as Basij. Basij is something like which is very loyal to the spiritual leader, and they are stated to be 900,000 or 9 lakh in a number. So now people are saying that there are 25 million. 25 million means they have infiltrated the administration, they have infiltrated the university, they have infiltrated the streets. So they literally
all
control the
everywhere.
entire nation of Iran. Yeah, entire nation of Iran. So that is how you are seeing that so many missiles are coming up, propping up from mountainous areas and other places. And the missile attacks, and none of the, even the superpower in Israel are not able to stop it.
Yeah,
So once, like, you will have to acknowledge the fighting ability of Iran, of IRGC, of Iranian Army, Navy, and Air Force, and also Basij. So once you acknowledge that, and once you acknowledge that GCC countries are very, very vulnerable, so then there will be talks. Now, what will be the agenda of Iranians? They will say that since you have not been able to defeat us, you can't do a ground operation on us. By air, you can't damage us anymore. If you damage us anymore, we will hit your allies or countries which are there, your allies like Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE,
yeah.
uh,
The Gulf,
so
major Gulf
Oman.
countries.
Yeah. So these countries will not have trust on you. So, and the world economy is going bad. Your own people will be buying gasoline or petrol in a higher price. So inflation will hit you. Your petrodollars will go for a six. So now is the condition that you allow us, do not sanction us from selling our oil. Then I'll levy taxes on ships which pass through Strait of Hormuz, and I'll collect taxes in yuan. You can't dictate to us. We'll have a spiritual leader. There will be no regime change, and otherwise I'll go after your allies. So now US, and I will also make atom bomb or a nuclear bomb. You can't stop us. So, and now I will not listen to you. So now it's a catch 22 situation. Even if there is a back channel talk, it is not heading anywhere because Iran is refusing and US is also adamant.
Yeah,
So, but I only hope that they don't hit Dimona plant, nuclear plant of Israel. They don't hit Bushehr plant, nuclear plant of Iran. They don't hit these cities and the population centers and the power sectors, power plants, and the desalination plants, so that the population can at least survive.
yeah,
Otherwise, it will devastate the entire Middle East.
yeah. Um, so give me three conditions the ceasefire can happen immediately.
Okay, first is like uh, there should be someone in Iran. They have killed all their leaders, supreme leader, the next rung of leader, and the next to next rung of leaders also have been
Like two,
eliminated.
three generations
So
coming ahead, generations, they have.
three three echelons have been wiped off. But President Pezeshkian is one face whom they can negotiate with. He's not a hardliner.
Mhm.
And let Murtzaba Khamenei take over as supreme leader. So this system remains. Mujaba will come back from Russia after his treatment. So you present a moderate face to the West. Like you
Hmm.
don't kill people, don't hang people who are protesting. At the face of it, you show that, okay, liberal uh, government is in
Government.
place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and we are not killing our own people. You take the protesters' demands and give certain amount of freedom to them. Okay, that solves a number one problem. Number two is you start selling oil like all other GCC countries. So these are the conditions in which there will be immediate ceasefire. Don't blockade Strait of Hormuz. Don't hit commercial ships. So, and in turn, US does not kill the further supreme leader or other leaders, and Israel also holds the gun. And Israel, as it is nuclear, so they all will respect each other because one trigger activated on nuclear button will wipe out not only the entire Middle East, but the entire world will be in danger because nuclear
Danger. Yeah.
war nobody wins. You will
No
have
one want
nuclear
to
winter.
go for that.
Yeah, you'll have a nuclear winter over the earth and nothing will survive.
Yeah.
So, this is what I can foresee. These are the conditions, three, four conditions under which immediate ceasefire can take place.
Yeah. Do you think there was a intelligence, failure? Did intelligence failure or security failure, contributed for escalating this war
Uh, Failure on part of whom?
on part of Iran?
No, it was not an intelligence failure because they were engaged in a talks in Oman with the United States of America. And it is learned that they had agreed to all the conditions of the Americans. That is denuclearization. They were ready to denuclearize and quit their nuclear program. And they were also ready for missile development restrictions. But actually, what happened was that 40 odd leaders with their supreme leader congregated at one place. So it was too lucrative a target, and these people
I know
generally the attacks used to take place in the night. It was 8:30 in the morning, and then dhadam, and they killed everybody.
they
So it
wiped
happened.
the top leadership. They wiped out completely.
So they were thinking like President Maduro of Venezuela. Once he was removed, then Delcy Rodriguez comes and she's totally compliant to the US. So something like this will happen in Iran. But Iran is a very ancient civilization,
Yeah,
and they have got a lot of uh, respect for a martyr. So instead of breaking down, they resolved to fight. So, and they are fighting very well. So there's no intelligence failure. It was something like the greed to kill the supreme leader on part of Israel and US. Then they did it. So
yeah.
it happened very quickly.
So, looking at all these, when the war started, it also hit India in terms of the daily usage of LPG. Um, so, what do you think? The diplomat situation which India took, and they got their three ships which had filled with the crude oil. How India is playing their part of diplomatic talks in with
India is playing it very well. India will remain the fastest growing big economy in the world. There will be no dearth of oil because India has got a refining capacity of $10 million barrels a day, and its domestic consumption is only 5.2 million barrels per day.
Mhm.
So you can make out that we'll have a lot of surplus oil. And the LPG also, now the government of India has given instructions to the refineries to the topmost in the distillation plant is that of LPG.
Yeah.
LNG, LPG, initially there will be a setback. We are getting now, since Russian oil is unsanctioned, we are getting a lot of Russian oil. American distilleries are not, refineries are not able to refine the Venezuelan oil because it is very heavy oil. So a lot of Venezuelan oil is coming into India,
Mm-hmm.
and oil is there's no dearth of oil because there is surplus oil with India. In fact, India will be looking after the needs of Europe, of global South, and even the US. So no oil deficiency. Yes, gas for some time it will be there, but once the supply chain from the US and also from Canada, Australia, Nigeria, and Russia, the gas starts coming in. So we will not face any problem. And incidentally, all connected things also will start. There's just a little bit of pause, and after that, it will be normal, business as usual. Shiva.
Okay. So one last question I want to ask. Which are the countries which plays a neutral role, not taking any sides, but of course, India is one of the country which you mentioned earlier. Any other countries can come together and have a peace talk and end this war?
No one is ready to burn its fingers. Generally, the Scandinavian countries, Norway, Sweden, all these were used to play a neutral role. Switzerland used to play a neutral role. Austria used to play a neutral role, but they've all gone into NATO. Then Australia and all these people are part of NATO. So when it comes to actually a neutral player, there is none other than India.
Yeah,
Japan is also a US ally. Pakistan is a US ally. Turkey is part of the NATO. Uh, GCC countries are, as it is, getting thrashed by Iran. So whom do you go to? And African countries generally don't have much say. So it is only India, and I think President of Finland had come here and he said that if India puts in a word to the warring sides, the war will come to an end in one night. So that
yeah.
is the kind of
The potential what
prestige which
India
India
has
has.
right now.
Yes. So if both the parties approach us, the war will come to an end.
Okay, amazing, amazing. Um, Thank you so much, sir, for giving your insights. I'm really honored to have you on our show. Uh, Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Shiva. It was really fantastic to discuss with you so many aspects, and it's very longish. This thing. I wish you all the best in all your endeavors. Wonderful engaging with you. Thanks. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Jai Hind.